You're looking at a graveyard, not the kind with tombstones, but one where dreams go to die, a half-built construction site swallowed by weeds and rust. Now you might think this is the result of shoddy materials, bad contractors, maybe even a lazy crew. But more often than not, the culprit is something else entirely. This, my friends, is what happens when good intentions meet terrible planning. By the end of this video, you'll understand why solid planning is the difference between a project that soars and one that crashes and burns. We're gonna dig into the nitty-gritty of how to avoid becoming another statistic. Let's get this show on the road. Alright, let's talk about dominoes. Not the kind you play with, but the kind that send a whole construction project spiraling into chaos. See, most folks think of planning as this big, abstract thing. Drawings, spreadsheets, meetings that could have been emails, but they miss the crucial point. Planning is about understanding the chain reaction. Every decision, every delay, every overlooked detail can set off a chain of consequences that ripple through the entire project. Think of it like building a house. You start with the foundation, right? But what happens if you don't account for the soil conditions? You skimp on the rebar, maybe you rush the curing time because you're already behind schedule. Suddenly that one seemingly small crack in the foundation becomes a major structural issue. Now you're talking costly repairs, delayed inspections, and a whole lot of finger-pointing. And just like that, your project timeline goes out the window. Materials that were supposed to arrive on Tuesday are now stuck in some warehouse. Labor costs skyrocket because you've got crews standing around twiddling their thumbs, and your client, well, let's just say they're not gonna be happy campers. But here's the thing, it doesn't have to be this way. Just like a well-built foundation supports a whole house, a well-thought-out plan supports the entire project. And it all starts with understanding the domino effect. Identify those critical points of failure. Where are the bottlenecks most likely to occur? What are the potential risks that could throw you off course? Once you've identified those weak links, you can start building in contingencies, factor in weather delays. Remember, a little bit of foresight goes a long way in this business. Now, some of you might be thinking, all right, Mike, that domino effect thing sounds logical and all, but does it really happen in the real world? Oh, it does, my friend, and to prove it, let's take a little trip to Germany. Buckle up, because we're about to dissect the infamous Berlin-Brandenburg Airport, a textbook example of what happens when planning goes horribly, terribly wrong. Imagine this, a state-of-the-art international airport, designed to be a shining beacon of German engineering. It was supposed to open in 2011, a symbol of national pride and progress. Instead, it became a $7 billion embarrassment, plagued by delays, cost overruns, and enough technical blunders to make your head spin. So, where did it all go wrong? Well, for starters, the initial plans were overly ambitious, to say the least. They tried to cram way too much into one project, with complex designs and untested technologies. It was like they were building the Starship Enterprise instead of an airport. But the problems didn't stop there. There were issues with fire safety systems, baggage handling systems that flat out refused to work, and electrical systems that were so poorly installed they posed a serious fire hazard. And you want to know the kicker? A lot of these problems could have been avoided with, you guessed it, proper planning. Learn from their mistakes, folks, because nobody wants to be the next Berlin airport cautionary tale. Alright, now that we've scared the bejesus out of you with the Berlin airport fiasco, let's talk about how to avoid a similar fate. Because as much as I love a good disaster story, I'd rather see you succeed. So, consider this your crash course in what not to do. These are the top 5 planning sins that'll send your project straight to the construction graveyard. Sin number 1, the we'll figure it out later mentality. This is the cardinal sin of project planning, folks. Assuming you can just wing it is a recipe for disaster. You need a detailed plan, and I'm not talking about some scribbles on a napkin. Sin number 2, ignoring the site and its quirks. Every site has its own unique challenges, whether it's soil conditions, access issues, or even just grumpy neighbors. Failing to properly assess your site is like walking into a gunfight with a butter knife, not a good look. Sin number 3, underestimating the power of communication. A plan is only as good as the communication surrounding it. You gotta keep everyone in the loop, from the architects to the subcontractors to the guy delivering the porta potties. Sin number 4, treating your budget like a suggestion. Look, I get it, unexpected costs pop up. But that doesn't mean your budget should be some loosey-goosey guideline. Sin number 5, forgetting about the what-ifs. Having contingency plans in place can be the difference between a minor setback and a total catastrophe. underprepared. Now you might be thinking this is all well and good for these mega projects, but what about us little guys? Well, let me tell you about a crew I met in Ohio who proved that good planning isn't just for the big leagues. These folks were building single-family homes, nothing fancy, but solid, well-built houses for hard-working families. They were a small team, maybe 10 guys at most, and they were facing the same challenges as everyone else. Tight deadlines, material cost fluctuations, and the ever-present pressure to deliver quality work on budget. But here's the thing, they were crushing it. In 2023, they completed 23 homes, on time and on budget, without a single major delay. How? Planning. They embraced technology, using project management software to keep everyone on the same page. They held daily huddles, not just to discuss the day's tasks, but to identify potential roadblocks and come up with solutions together. And you know what? It worked. So, whether you're building a skyscraper or a single-family home, remember this: good planning is the great equalizer. So, there you have it. The unvarnished truth about construction planning. It's not glamorous, it's not always exciting, but it is absolutely essential to your success. Remember, a well-planned project is a successful project. And a successful project means happy clients, a healthy bottom line, and a whole lot less stress in your life. What's the biggest planning sin you're guilty of committing? Drop it in the comments below and let's hold each other accountable for building better, smarter, and more successful projects. Stay tuned because next time we're diving deep into the murky waters of contractor billing practices, you don't want to miss it.